Okay, so I'm probably gonna play this build. This is Stom or Spectral Throw Materializing. I'm gonna play it on Raider this season, SSF only. And then last season I played it on Berserker, but there's a lot of problems with starting on this side of the tree, the Marauder side. Number one is it's very hard to get block. So with this character we're 65-65, which is like good enough. It's not 75-75, but in combination with the 50 evade, it should feel relatively good. So the first question is, why Raider? Well, the shock is very good with Spectral Throw because you don't really hit hard with Spectral Throw, you just hit a lot. And so this probably takes your shock from at max 15 to 20 to 100, which is just a ton of damage. Hoarfrost is still insane. I don't know why this hasn't been nerfed, frankly. So, on non-bosses, this is borderline invulnerability. On bosses, it's really just comfortable. And then the double tincture, a staple of Raider. We're getting most of our pin and percentage damage from this tincture, so it's 120% more damage, which is more than... early at least, it's way more than Deadeye or Slayer could provide, even with the new Corrupted +1 Frenzies. We're also getting a large chunk of our crit chance from this and attack speed. And so, Raider just seems early on the best, more than likely in the in-game or if you're in trade, which I highly do not recommend playing this build in trade. But if you are in trade, going Deadeye and going deck stacking is probably the in-game what I'm going to try to do with Unholy Trinity. And it's going to do probably more damage, but I haven't POB'd that out, so don't quote me. So, what does our tree look like? Well, we get cap suppressed because we're Raider, so we get that extremely fast. And we need to solve a couple of things. Number one is crit. And I was thinking just to go Claws with Nightblade, but with the Jeweled Foil and Smite, Smite just seems too good. It's too much flat early on, at least. 23-24% more damage is just anything. It's better than anything a claw could provide. Our Jeweled Foil is not that good. You can probably get this in the first week, even SSF. It's only 600 LED DPS. Chaos Res Light and Meaning is just aspirational. Obviously, you can just run Chaos Res on gear. And then +1 attack projectiles. You need the +1 attack projectiles for Spectral Throw because it enhances the shotgunning a lot with the new Infamous mod. Little disclaimer, if there's no Infamous mods, even with the return of the Mercenaries, do not play this build. It just won't work. It's like a 10x damage multiplier. Vigicascade to enhance the shotgunning even more. If you don't know how this works, I'd highly recommend watching the Poop Butts video on it. But basically, it just makes the returning prods hit at more of a different time and interact very strangely with splitting off of Sniper's Mark. And so, without this, I think you're getting like 7 hits max. But with this, you could probably hit like 9 in my testing, which is just insane. We get Enduring Composure for endurance charges because Raider is squishy without a lot of layers of mitigation that something like Slayer or even Deadeye get. Clever Thief for Leech, and with this build I went Ghost Dance Hybrid, and I took it a little bit from Ben's Assassin because this tree is horrible for getting tankiness. And so he also went Hybrid, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And you get 2,000 extra pool, which is just insane. I am very worried that with only 10,000 evade, this is going to feel horrible, so I'm fully willing to take off one of these links to run Energy Leech just to have that dual leech going on. That sounds good, but I can't test that without just being in game. And then the Light and Meaning is absolutely disgusting because 90% of our trees in this one circle. I'm taking Invert because we have to run Sniper's Mark and I don't want to go get Whispers or 3 golds. That just sounds insane. And then slower proj to make the shotgunning better. the skill needs to be as slow as possible to hit more. It's just kind of a normal Spectral thing. 100% suppress. The gear is not too strained in my opinion. It seems gettable in SSF even with the suppress numbers. Like on my chest piece, for example, I think this is T3 suppress. We're able to run a shield. Come all the way over here is a ton of travel just to get versatile combatant with block. I've never played Stom specifically with block, but I have played the shell on Trickster and it was extremely tanky. The 65 block with the amount of evade plus ghost dance. And this is a very high life build for raiders. Just in general. Just because we get to run so many rares. So the main interaction with Stom and why I think it's so good, even though the clear is wonky because it takes about a full second to start dealing damage from the way back. Coiling Whispers works extremely well because you shield charge into the pack and then attack, and by the time they can even take damage, this hex is already expired even with no duration on tree. And so you end up just getting free Soul Eater from this, and you're running a Sniper's Mark anyway, so this has no downside besides taking up a ring slot, but who cares. Just normal rare stuff, dual tincture, and then a Surgeon's Diamond Flask because we're hitting so often with the Spectral Throw. Dual crit, multi-life, jewels. Nothing insane. And this number does look wrong, but it hits around 8 or 9 times. So this is absolutely insane damage early on. Another thing is Fury Valve. I tried to test out Fury Valve, but the hits are so inconsistent on this skill as is. I think, do not quote me on this, I think it's better damage-wise, at least with the +2 proj it gives you. However, this amulet that you can get with Wed -7 is just too much. If I drop one, I'll run it for a bit and see how it goes. But more than likely, it's just terrible because it gives you 30 proj speed, and 30 proj speed is horrible. And the same things with the fledgling. Let me see. Fledgling also gives you a ton of proj speed, and even though the way the skill works, it almost always far shots because the forward and backward both count on the same line, same amount of distance. So reasonably, you are hitting 60 units out every single time. It's 40% more damage, which in POV looks really good, but the amount of projectile speed that you get from this helmet, I think, would lower your damage or by like 30 to 40, so you'd have to run slower projectile support if you ran this helmet, and at that point you're trading damage for damage. Our little link here with inspiration, slower proj is 7-8% worse, and you'd have to fix the mana, and so you could try it out. It might be better, but you lose so much defense as well because this is an armor evo helmet, and I'm running the double energy shield mastery with a really nice Lich's Circlet, and this alone is 400 energy shield, so you're probably losing close to 1,000 pool, but I mean, you could cut this little thing off, get it somewhere else for like 30% damage, which in my opinion is just not worth it because this build has too much damage already. And like I said, I believe the end game of this build is deck stacking with triple clusters, and then you run the proj for claws cluster on a large cluster, and that would help a ton. Second thing is this skill attacks ridiculously fast just because I believe it's a 120 base, which is just insane. You can run this with a foil and Soul Eater, like I said, and it really feels good. We're applying the Soul Eater with shield charge, and normally this feels horrendous, but like I said, there's a 1 second delay anyways, and so the duration of 1.3 feels fine. It feels fine. It only gets clunky on single target. I'm running Anger, and I'm like Anger here because this is too much damage, and it solves our Trinity because we're getting Smite for flat and Anger. And if we only had Smite, we couldn't run Trinity. And then I'm Guardian's Blessing, Erase Spectre. The Spectre's going to be Marionette so that we could just press this as a steroid. Smite, obviously, in the same link as Immortal Call. This is the main reason we're running swords early. Too much damage. For my aura setup, I just ran 3 defensive auras because Raider is way too squishy, so Flesh and Stone is just really nice to have because we can afford it. Tempest Shield is more for the spell block. This thing's just really good. It's spell block and shock immunity. I couldn't solve shock immunity any other way early, and it feels horrible to do maps without shock immunity. Arctic Armor just for the Fizz DR because we're running a hybrid Evo ES pieces. We have no Fizz DR minus the implicits on helmet and chest and endurance charges, which is just not enough normally. But the Arctic Armor, it feels really good, and we get immune to freeze. So I might try out Brine King, not running Brine King, but Brine King with block feels really good. And I can't really get stun immune. I don't really know where to get it besides tattoos, and I won't have those earlies. Sniper's Bark manual with Frostblink and then Precision. I have a Sniper's Bark manual. You probably can run Bark on hit and just take off more duration here. And the reason why I'm not doing that is because, number one, while mapping, it feels really strange on rares, and number two, you lose a Proj split, which lowers your damage by a ton. So you need to like get mark effect somewhere else on tree or on tattoo. Precision, hard run, no arrogance. We don't have enough life. Taking arrogance just makes us too squishy, and I don't have the sockets for it, so you would have to run meat shield off or something like that. And then Spectral, Materializing, GMP is too good, just helps shotgunning too much. Trinity, I'm just running a Trinity build, mostly because of the winner, more than anything. Ink crit, I couldn't solve crit. I don't know why, because I'm running Raider Rosethorn and a 6.8 jeweled foil, but it just comes from not running claws with Nightblade. Crit damage, I can't get crit damage without running a bunch of jewels and cluster jewels, in my opinion. Or I can't get enough to make this not good. And then inspiration just for the mana cost. I believe mana is going to be a really big problem until you get like double -7s. Even if the skill costed like 4 or 5 mana, which normally is completely like that doesn't do anything, you don't start your leech until 1 second is done. And a lot of times, if even with that little amount, if my skill costed 5 mana, I would run out of mana in 1 second because we're attacking so fast with the Soul Eater. And I did that on my Berserker, and it felt horrid. So you need to be as close to 0 as you possibly can. Right now, mine is 0, but I suspect it's going to be like 2 once it starts with the mana change and all that. And crit chance on Flask Implicit is just broken on this because we hit so often. I know it has an ICD, but still, we're hitting it on cooldown. I believe that's it. I got Frenzy charges from here. You can take whatever. The only thing I will say is you can't run Blood Rage because I don't have the Energy Leech, which sucks really bad. But our shield charge is going to be super fast, so it shouldn't be a problem anyways. Yeah, I think that's it. Like I said, I'll be in the... During the league, I'm going to try to get a Foulborn Thought in Motion and swap to deck stacking. I know deck stacking can get absolutely ridiculous numbers. And so, once I get it, or if I get it, I'll just POB it out then. But this is what I'm starting with right now, and hopefully it's tanky enough. That's what I'm worried about. Also, once again, don't play this in trade. It has absolutely no purpose. Anyways, bye-bye.